Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 11th, and today we're going to talk about perspective and power. So, to begin, I want you to think of a time when you and someone else either had an argument or a misunderstanding. What was the topic? How did you feel? How did you think the other person felt? How did it get resolved? And I want you to write at least 4 or 5 sentences explaining. So kind of think about your side of the story and think about the other person's side of the story. And today we're going to focus on point of view and perspective. And so think about who is telling your story. Perspective is the narrator, so who is narrating your story, their interpretation of the events, people, and places based on their experiences and background. And perspective is really thinking about every story and how it is interpreted. So in literature, there are kind of 3 general ways of figuring out point of view. So we have first person, which is the main character in the story, who is also telling the story. And they use words such as I, me, we. And then you have second person. That is when the author or narrator is telling the story to you as a reader. So that's when they use such thing as you, your, and yours. And lastly, we have third person. The author or narrator is telling the story, but it is not part of it. It can be kind of like a limited view. So again, third person's kind of out of the picture. They're just telling the story using he, she, or they. So here's a little graphic to kind of help explain. So first person says, hi, let me tell you about the time I went to the store. So again, that's first person. I am telling you about the time I went to the store. Third person, my best friend Kiana went to the store last week. Okay, so now you're telling the story of someone else. And then the store owner was devastated to learn that he had accidentally locked Kiana in the store overnight. Okay, so I want you to be thinking kind of about, does your story, is it in first person, is it in third person? Second person up here is usually with non-fiction text. And so we're going to move into our work for today. And while we are doing this, I want you, or what we're going to be doing is really looking at some pictures and thinking about perspective and power structure. And so similar to kind of our dystopian unit about oppression and power and oppression, I want you to think about as you're looking at each image, so you're going to be looking at 3 different pictures, think about who has the power in the picture and who benefits from the power in this picture. And are there any generalizations or stereotypes of people or places in this image? And what are they and how do you know? And then lastly, whose perspective is represented in this image and whose perspective is missing or invisible? So that's what you're going to do today. You're going to look at each image and you're going to analyze these questions. And then you are going to think about your own book and you are going to answer the following questions. What perspective is your story told? Who is the one actually telling the story? Maybe what perspective is missing from your story? And then think about what events in the narrative would change if the narrative was written from a different character's point of view. So really think about who's telling the story, and then if it was written from someone else, would the story be the same, or what things would be different? And then I want you to think of a major conflict in your story, and think about who is a conflict between, who has more power in the story, and then what was the outcome. So that is what you're going to be doing today on assignment 5.1, perspective. Please let me know if you have any questions.